We're here today in Syntropic 1. This is our oldest of our Syntropic Agroforestry systems at our farm, and we're going to be making some drastic pruning here over the coming weeks. So what has happened in this system since we planted it is that a lot of the medium and high strata plants, like the jackfruit, mangoes, ice cream beans, inga that we planted, didn't grow that well because of pressure from rodents and other animals that took them out. And so what ended up happening in this system is that we have many emergent strata trees. So we have the Brazilian fern tree, we have the eucalyptus, we have the teak, we have the amarillo, which is a native timber, but we are a little bit empty in the medium and high stratas here. So we're missing, for example, some really great mother trees that are growing next to the cacao that we can prune for biomass with the cacao. And so we're gonna do like a reset here. So we'll be cutting at the base, the eucalyptus, the Brazilian fern tree we call pachaco here in Ecuador, and also bananas, the ones there are, the bigger ones we'll cut down. And then so that'll expose a lot of light, open up the canopy, and we'll open a line down the middle of the tree line. And in this tree line, in here basically, we will be planting new seeds and trees. So aiming for greater diversification of the system, to get live roots in all the tree line, and to have more medium, high strata biomass producers really pumping in this system. The great thing is that these 3 years of mulching down matter from these emergent trees, from mulching down the grass and the mombasa grass every 2 or 3 months throughout the year, has created a much improved soil. So, even though we are doing this reset, we have something that is sort of night and day from what we started with. So we started a heavily compacted, degraded soil, and now, we have high organic matter content soil, better crumb structure, a lot better water infiltration. That's what our soil study in this parcel is showing. And so, although we're going to be sacrificing some of these emergent trees, they've done amazing work for us in the system. And then we're going to be adding a lot more diversity and density of trees, thanks to the recommendations of Fernando Rebelo, who's our teacher who's come this year to work with us from Brazil. And so stay tuned, and in this video later on, we'll come back in a couple of weeks, and Luan will take some drone shots of the system before and after, and we'll be able to share with you that drastic transformation of sort of taking down that high strata of trees to allow space for light to penetrate down to support the establishment of a lot of new trees that we're going to add throughout the line. So adding all those trees will be maximizing photosynthesis in the system, making sure that every square meter of area is optimizing photosynthesis, and then by the same token, in the subterranean layer, that the roots will be filling the entire tree line. So there'll be enough density and diversity of trees that the whole tree line is filled with live roots, which will also accelerate the process of bringing back biodiversity in the soil and the organic matter that we need for the long-term production of cacao, which is our ultimate goal. You can see in the system, the cacao is doing decent. It has some nice new leaves at the very end of the dry season right now. It is doing okay, but we do want to give it this boost. This is a 2-year-old cacao plant, the Fino Aroma variety. And so what we're going to do with this heavy pruning is going to give a boost to them too, and then give them a lot more support species to grow up with them. Hi, I'm here today again in the Syntropic 1 system, just about 3 weeks since I was last here with Luis filming the before video. And so what we've done here is a drastic pruning of our eucalyptus and our Brazilian fern tree. The Brazilian fern trees we have basically eliminated from the system, and the eucalyptus we've cut down at the base also, but some of them are going to be resprouting. And so what we had was too dense and emergent strata in the system, which was creating too much shade for everything below, and sort of limiting the growth of some things like our jackfruit. Even the cacao itself probably had a little bit too much shade. And so now that we've done this disturbance and this aggressive pruning of everything, the goal will be to open up the lines, and in opening the lines, we will then loosen with a pick and a digging fork the soil, and then plant mango seeds for having more mother trees, more madre de agua or nacedera, and just generally more diversity of tree seeds in general. And so the light and opening it up like that is going to allow us to incorporate more and more of that diversity in here. The ultimate goal for this system is to produce cacao and then also some avocados. Here's a little grafted avocado. And so we've chosen for the management of this cycle of growth of mombasa grass to actually put the cows in here. And so with the electric fence, we're able to keep the cows mostly away from any of the sensitive baby plants like the cacao or other things growing in the lines. And then they're sort of doing a round of fertilizing of the grass. And so they poop and pee and mix that in and kind of help to stimulate the growth of the mombasa grass. And then as we can see, we just had our first rain a few days ago. And so as we can see, that has stimulated the growth of the mombasa grass quite a bit. And like the cows were just eating this all the way down to the ground right here about 6 days ago, and it's already now, what, 30, 40 centimeters resprouted again. And so, you know, it's thanks to the rains for sure, but I think also the impact of the disturbance of having the cows in here and biting and chewing and their saliva and poop and pee and everything also helps to stimulate a strong resprouting of the grass, which coincides at the beginning of the rainy season. And so in about, I would estimate about 3 weeks or so, this grass will be about as tall as I am. And at that time, we will have also planted all of the new things that are going in here, like the gliricidia, the madre de agua, or the nacedera, mango seeds, and a bunch of other seeds that are going to increase the density in the tree row. And then so with the next cut of mombasa grass, we will use that to sort of tuck in and mulch all those newly establishing additions to this system. And so this is, as our teacher Fernando Rebello calls it, a surgery or sort of a improvement of the system, because some things didn't establish at first, and we've just learned a lot since we first started this system. And it's also just a disturbance that, as Ernst Ghost says, he manages his farm in northern Brazil in this way. And the cacao has full sun, and it's really intense for a period of about 1.5 or 2 months. But then the mother trees resprout. And so they can withstand, the cow can withstand that intense sunlight for a period of time, but just not all year. And then so as the mother trees regrow their foliage, and they provide shade again for the cacao, going into its flowering and fruiting and production season. And then obviously they benefit from the growth pulse from the pruning, and then also from the mulching down of all the leaves from the mother trees. And so that's what we're doing here, attempting to have a greater diversity and density of trees in the system to speed up the soil rehabilitation process in here. And to do that, to get all those new things to establish, we had to eliminate a lot of that emergent strata of trees to open up the sunlight. So thanks for tuning in.